Hello friends, this is my first video with my new camera setup, which instead of me piling books up and setting the camera atop the pile like a jackass is some sort of crazy crane that dangles the camera over my desk so that hopefully you can see a bit better. Although as you can see, the lighting is still as awful as always. And as it's getting warmer, I'm not wearing my cheetah print bathrobe. Although, if enough of you ask me to, I will start wearing it again. And by enough of you, I mean at least one, because I really like wearing that thing. It won't take much to convince me. Tonight, we're going to take a look at the P30. This was a gun that the first time I shot it, I thought it was terrible. I thought it was one of the worst guns I've ever shot. But the second time I picked it up, I didn't want to put it down. For a very brief history of the company HK, please check out my HK45 compact review. This gun appears to be a modernized USP and maybe an evolution of the P2000. It's smaller than the full-size USP and a bit larger than the P2000, and it shares some of the design features with the HK45 full-size. With a lot of its features and Glock 19-esque size, HK seems to have been pursuing the police market to compete with the Walther P99 and PPQ. Features. It looks super cool. The grip is profoundly ergonomic. We're in PPQ territory here with the ergonomics, and that's saying a lot. I think the PPQ feels awesome. The gun feels very small, but it's still very comfortable. It has the marvelous paddle magazine release that I'm so fond of, to the point that I wish every gun had that magazine release. It has a very effective recoil buffer that noticeably reduces recoil, even for a 9mm. Ambi-slide release, which I could care less about. Illuminated non-radioactive sights, which I hate. The best decocker ever. And I mean that. This is the best decocker that I've ever felt on any gun. I love this. No extra levers or anything getting in the way. Just that little button. Genius. It has a bunch of these things in the case. These back straps and side panels here that let you change the size. That's pretty great, I guess. I haven't had to adjust anything. To me, it just felt great right out of the box. Excuse me, needed some more San Pellegrino. Let's take it apart. Let's look inside. So, pull the slide back. Pop out this pin. I should probably take the magazine out of it, shouldn't I? Yeah, they tell me that helps. Definitely take the magazine out before you do this, folks. Don't be like me. Then the slide comes right off. You see the recoil buffer there. It's just a nylon ring, but it does the trick. In typical HK fashion, the machining is perfect. The barrel is cold hammer forged with polygonal rifling, which I always want to call polygamist rifling, which makes it sound like this barrel, like, I don't know, lives in a compound where it's illegally married to a bunch of Glock barrels, and it tells them, like, even though it's illegal, it's okay, because, you know, we're doing this for religious reasons. Alrighty. It's really hard to take guns apart on camera for some reason. Maybe it's just me and I'm an idiot, but it's hard. Pop that back in. It's back in business. The gun also comes with really nice magazines. And after the price drop, I mean, this thing is usually, most places, under $600. That's a hell of a bargain. An insane bargain when you think about it, if you can get past the trigger. So what competes with this gun? Well, other double-action, single-action polymer guns, although really this gun is going to compete also with metal-framed double-action, single-action guns, because I feel like a lot of HK buyers also buy things like SIGs and Berettas. But it feels a bit more like a striker-fired gun. It looks a lot like the Walther PPQ and P99, and those you can tell that HK and Walther were kind of looking at one another and taking some design cues here and there. The gun has a way worse trigger than a Beretta 92 or SIG P226, but this gun is way smaller and lighter than either one of those two. Similar in price and size to a Glock 19, but the P30 is better made and just as reliable, but the Glock has a better trigger. So why this HK? Well, for me, usually when I'm looking at an HK, I'm looking for a 45. I feel like HK does 45s better than almost anyone. I have two HK 45 tacticals, a full size and a compact, but I wanted a 9mm. The P2000 was a little bit too small, and the USP full size is much larger. It feels a lot less comfortable to me. It has a much smaller magazine release that I struggle with, and it has that stupid proprietary rail. Why, HK? Why with the proprietary rail? It's awful. Don't do that. Just put a pick rail on every gun. Come on. So how does it feel and shoot? At first, not so good. The gun feels great in the hand. The controls are easy to operate. The gun has almost no recoil, but that trigger, it's awful. The double action is long and gritty and creaky. The single action has a ton of take up, a lot of creep, and then the reset. There is no reset. After the first range trip, I was sure I was going to sell this thing. I almost didn't even take it back to the range. I almost just got rid of it. But there was something about it. The first time I shot it, my groups were really tight, and I shot the gun very quickly. After the second range trip, though, I came to understand this gun. I decided to just spend a day with it and see if I could figure it out. And I came to realize that this trigger has a very distinct purpose. And once I realized that, I was a huge fan. I came to value this gun immeasurably once I figured it out. So what would I change about it before I gush about how great this gun is? You think I'm going to say the trigger, right? Well, I'm not. It's the sights. These sights are terrible. The non-radioactive sights suck. This is an HK. Put real Trigicons on it, please. Also, these magazines are too expensive. Do a price drop on these two. All right, but this gun is misunderstood. A lot of people don't like them. A few of my friends dislike it so much that they won't even shoot my own ammo, free ammo, through my gun. The trigger has a specific purpose, and I get that it's not for everybody. And once I figured it out, I was in love. This trigger exists for safety. When I was young, I used to spend all summer shooting an old Colt revolver, working on my fundamentals, and I realized very quickly that if I didn't concentrate, I would miss horribly. There's no trigger reset on a double action revolver, and every movement kind of has to be made precisely. And this gun, since it's geared towards police, the trigger, every motion has to be made very deliberately. You can change your mind halfway through even a single action pull. Oh, see, I can decide my situation has changed and I don't want to pull the trigger anymore. So the gun didn't go off. There's a lot of room to change my mind. Look at how much room I have there. So as the situation changes, you can change what you're doing with the gun. And as you lose fine motor skills, this gun is mostly manipulated by gross motor functions. So because it's not a really precise hair trigger under duress, that could help there be maybe a more favorable, less violent outcome for all involved. It's lovely. This is the safest trigger on any gun that I've ever owned. I really like it. I value this gun a lot. I shoot it well, and maybe you will too. Don't listen to people who say the trigger sucks. Go check it out and see what you think for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.